Well, y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Rolling the Bottom podcast. I'm your host, Zach Moore, here to talk all things Rockingham weekend. It's currently Friday morning. This will be out. Quick little podcast, kind of recapping the weekend, talk about some of the key moments for each race. Not going to be a normal breakdown. I never really do a normal breakdown for the O'Reilly series and the Truck series, just because it's not really a series that a lot of fans care to really go in depth with, unless there's a key thing that happened in the race, which having Cleetus McFarland in the Crash Truck series, having Cleetus McFarland in the O'Reilly series race was a big deal. Um, so we'll talk about the Truck series race first. Corey Heim gets the win. He dominated the race. He led 178 laps. The other 17, I guess technically, well, Tanner Gray led the second most laps. Tanner Gray led the second most laps at 17 laps because he started second in the race. And then the only other guy that led laps in this race was Grant Inkfair, who finished sixth. He led four, probably off the pit cycle. And then Kaden Honeycutt led lap 199. And that was when he was battling Corey Heim. The finish in this race was Corey Heim and Kaden Honeycutt was a great. It really helped this race finish on a good note. Because I felt like this race was not. There wasn't a lot that going on. I mean, of course, not saying that because you want wrecks and stuff and you want people tearing crap up makes it a better race. But yeah, of course, you had some guys that would search up a little bit higher in the lanes. You would see some solid racing battles. But there just wasn't much to it. You're just watching the same stuff happen lap after lap. And Corey Heim is out here dominating. He was like a front stretch. At one point, I think he was almost a half a lap ahead of second place. I know I had a video where Matt Crafton was like, High would exit or leave the site out of turn one. And then here came Matt Crafton out of turn four. Like, it was just insane. Heim dominated this race. But at the end, it looked like his truck wasn't handling the way he needed to. He was having to like turn right down the straightaway, I think he was saying too. Like he wasn't able to keep the steering wheel straight. He had to like turn to keep the thing straight. So he was struggling, lap traffic through parting it probably. I was watching Honeycutt every time in exiting turn two, he would run high, and high would run low. And and Honeycutt was able to get so much momentum. It was really, it was kind of surprising. It's like, geez, um, Heim's truck has not drove this bad the entire race. And like I talked about, on lap 199 was the closest that Honeycutt got to fully passing Heim, but Heim was able just to stay side draft him um, enough. And then also, here came Tanner Gray, who was a lap truck. He was in the same lane that Honeycutt was up top. And while Heim was side drafting Honeycutt to keep him from clearing him, Tanner Gray is behind the Honeycutt. And there was a lot of questions on why Tanner Gray didn't move. I learned on DBC that Tanner Gray had a different spotter. A lot of the Cup spotters, I believe, are taking the week off. Not a lot of Cup spotters, I think, spot this weekend. So he had a different spotter. So maybe the spotter didn't find it important to get out of the way so these two can battle. I would have said that definitely had a factor in Honeycutt not having the clean air and having a truck in front of him that he also had to push. Because there was a momentum down the backstretch where he literally was pushing Tanner Gray. Really just confusing there. It didn't make much. It was definitely a big question after the race, but I haven't heard much from it. Um, but definitely, one thing I will say is Honeycutt raced Heim very, very clean. Really hard, but very clean. But Corey Heim with this win. Heim's only missed one race. He missed St. Petersburg. That's his only race he missed. Heim is currently the points leader in the Craftsman Truck Series. He has a 10-point lead. That's because Chandler Smith, who was the points leader, failed post-race inspection. The rear of the truck, I believe, was too low for standards. So it's a simple disqualification. Chandler now moved into the fourth spot in the points, but Chandler Smith would have been the points leader. So the third question out there, if Heim should be granted a chase spot if he is in the top 10 in points, which is how many drivers make it in the truck series for the chase, if he should be granted a spot. The rule is very simple. The rule is If you miss a race and you're not granted a waiver, you can't race for the championship. So by rule, Heim should not be able to. But I feel like this is a whole different era where missing a race is such a bigger deal now. Like your punishment for missing a race should be the fact that you didn't race and that you missed out on earning, 40 points, in a race. Those points are massive. Missing a race is so much bigger now in the playoffs because the playoff points were the only points you were trying to earn in a race weekend, especially if you had a win, because if you had a win, you locked yourself into the playoffs. And playoff points, the most you could earn in an entire week was 7, because you won 5. You got 5 points for a win and 1 point for a stage win. And then there's 2 stages, that would be 2 playoff points. So this era, missing a race is a bigger deal than the playoff era. But rules are rules. And Heim was saying on SiriusXM, I'm paraphrasing that, a couple more sponsors have jumped on for this year because he's been winning a lot, but it doesn't seem like he's going to have a full rest. It doesn't sound like he's going to be able to run the rest of the year. He may have to miss a couple races due to sponsorship, which stinks, but it is impressive. Even though he missed a race, he has a 10-point lead in the Truck Series standings. Moving on here, finishing order from this race, top 15. First, Corey Heim. Second, Kaden Honeycutt. Third, Lane Riggs. Fourth, Chandler Smith. Fifth, Stuart Friesen. Sixth, Grant Fair. Seventh, Tyler Ankrum. Eighth, Tori Joy. Ninth, Ty Majeski. 10th, Jake Garcia. 11th, Cole Butcher. 12th, Sammy Smith. 13th, Justin Haley. 14th, Chris Eckes. And 15th, Landon Lewis. Heim won both stages. He had the most laps. There was 4 cautions for 28 laps. Very caution-free race. Surprising. Last year there was a lot more wrecks. There was like 11 cautions last year. This one was a little more tamed. Lead changes were only 6. It really was a Corey Heim kind of dominated day. And I would say that definitely made the race very meh. I don't want to hate on the track because it is a new repave. This is only the second race on the repave, so there's, you gotta wait until this track gets worn out. Then you'll see guys tire wear will be a bigger deal. You'll see guys searching around more. They'll run towards the wall, down the bottom, in the middle. We're still not there yet. But congrats to Corey Heim. Now the O'Reilly Series race, where we saw Williams Sawalich get his first career win. First Minnesota-born driver to win NASCAR's 3 major series. Yeah, man, he led 80 laps. I think he led the final 80 laps in this race. Something like that. He was up there. Toyota brought the speed. I mean, we saw Brent Cruz was up there. We saw Williams Walsh was up there, like we talked about. Taylor Gray led 6 laps. Tries a different strategy. Now, Corey Day was the most dominant car. Won the pole. Led 118 laps. He won the first 2 stages. Yep. And then they had a bad pit stop. And then that sent him back. And he was never able to get back in a position where he could compete up front. He was always trying to slowly pick away. He still finished, where he finished? He still finished 10th. But yeah, he struggled, I think, maybe in lap traffic. When you're out front all day, you don't know how your car drives in dirty air. Unless you're in, unless you're with lap cars. But that's still not going to be where your car's really going to handle, because those cars are way slower than the guys that are in the top 10. So it's probably one of those things where you have a bad pit stop, you're making adjustments for how your car is going to handle in clean air. Just one of those downsides of dominating a race so much and then losing that track position. Cleetus McFarland was in this race. He spun out like 5 times. He spun out on like lap 3 going 3 wide. He avoided a car spinning coming down to him. He spun out and exited turn 4. He almost spun out at the end of this race because he got ran in the back of by his teammate Austin Hill. A couple more times where he got sideways. He was a mess. But he didn't crash the car. The car's still in one piece. He finished 32nd. He struggled. But that's what you, I think, should have expected. Maybe I thought he could do a little bit better. I mean, he did really well in that ARCA Series race, finished 4th. But there just wasn't, what he proved is those guys in that O'Reilly Series, even though they're not driving the best stuff out there and they might not be the most talented, They've been doing this for a long time, and they're still better than a guy that's only been doing this for about a year. And this is, Cleetus' first time in the Orion Series racing on a very challenging track. He was scheduled to go and run Talladega, I guess it would be like 2 weeks. But NASCAR has not approved Cleetus McFarland to run at Talladega, but they did grant him he can run any short track or any road course in the Orion Series, which then means he can run any race in the Truck Series and any race in the ARCA Series. But they want to see a little bit more before they grant him ability to run at Talladega, which makes perfect sense. If they approved Cleetus, I wouldn't have been shocked. But also, I'm not shocked that they didn't approve him. I mean, I don't think it's a good look when you're getting sideways and you're spinning out 5 times. It's not a great look. I don't think it's like, oh yeah, this proves that you're ready to go. I think, to me, he was very impressive in that ARCA race. He ran up front all day. Now, knowing the ARCA series, there's a lot of cars in that series that are very, very slow, low funded. There's not a lot of talent in that series. A lot of guys that are up front or the top talent, and they're driving also the best stuff. There's not a lot of teams in that series that have good, well-run programs and good cars. So you can't take everything from it, but he looked really comfortable. He said he was very comfortable. Had a lot of fun, it looked like, in there. It was fun watching those ARCA cars and him weave through lap traffic. So those are all good things to learn. I think, to me, the thing about Cleetus, though, Cleetus McFarland is a YouTuber, right? And he makes a lot of fun, entertaining content. Where if I would love to see him go full time in ARCA, go and run all those different tracks, run those super speedways, the mile and a half, the really short tracks, those old style short tracks, right? Go run all that and really build your craft. But I know his schedule is very busy, so I don't know if he really has the time or wants to just run a full season. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of commitment. He might not be able to do and make so much content, a lot of content that his fans like. I don't know, but that's the thing that's going to be hard for Cleetus. If he really wants to get good at this stuff, he's going to have to do a lot more than what he's doing currently right now. But I know he has some ARCA Series races coming up. He has some more Truck Series races coming up. And then there's a chance that he could then get approved for Talladega in the Orion Series or Daytona down the line. And he could run that race then. So we'll see. I love Cleetus' energy. I love he's super entertaining, great personality. Um, I think this is the right call right now. Even though, NASCAR has still let a guy or a girl, like Natalie Decker, who makes so many mistakes in that Orion Series, still gets approved to run at these big tracks like Talladega and Daytona. So I get why fans are mad about it, but I'm not surprised that they didn't approve him. Your top 15 from this race: William Swalch first, second Brandon Jones third, Justin Allgaier fourth, Roger Caruth fifth, Carson Kvapil sixth, Sheldon Creed seventh, Taylor Gray eighth, Parker Retzlaff ninth, Ryan Sieg 10th, Corey Day 11th, Austin Hill 12th, Sammy Smith 13th, Harrison Burton 14th, Brendan Poole 15th, LeVar Scott. I want to talk about Jesse Love finished 27th. He had some mechanical issues. And then Brent Cruz finished 26th. I believe Brent Cruz, he was leading the race. He pits with everyone else, and he takes 2 tires instead of 4 tires. And he ended up going from the lead, and then, he fell back and lost spots. And he had to pit with, 15 laps to go-ish, something like that. Because he, probably the tires that he didn't choose to pit for, I guess it would have been his 2 left side tires. They had to pit. He was probably hanging on to that thing. I don't understand that strategy, why they thought 2 tires was better. Maybe they were hoping there was going to be a caution, and having tires left over was going to be the right decision. I don't know. Because everyone else took 4 tires, and no one had tires at the end of the race anyway. And he had to pit under green. So he lost a bunch of spots because he chose not to go with 4 tires like everyone else. I don't know why that decision was called. Doesn't make sense to me. But I also don't know the full story. But yeah, the Orion Series race was another one of those races where the lead was never super contested up front. Allgaier, I thought, once he got past, I guess he got past Sheldon Creed, and Sheldon Creed fell back a couple spots, so he finished 6th. I thought Allgaier might have had a chance to go run down Brandon Jones, but could never get around Brandon Jones. Never really had a chance to go get down or run down William Swalch. But really cool for William Swalch, a guy that made a lot of mistakes in his rookie year. last year, and now he's starting to really build that racecraft, and he's showing why at 19 years old he's a very young, talented driver. And if he continues to keep this trajectory upwards, he's going to have a lot of opportunity to race, in the Cup Series one day. Now, last thing I want to bring up, the facility at Rockingham Speedway. They teased about having a Cup Series race there. I think the facility needs some work before that. The track, I think, is ready. All that looks really, really good. Love to see the Cup Series race there. But the grandstands, just to walk up to the grandstands, there's this massive paved hill. That is a steep hill. I feel bad for any fans that may have an injury or aren't in the best shape, a little bit out of shape, maybe a little bit overweight. I feel bad for those fans because they're going to be huffing and puffing trying to get up that thing. And that's not, I don't think us as fans should have to put a workout into getting up to the grandstands. That to me is not good for fan experience. They should put some stairs up that, in my personal opinion. And then the walkway from the grandstands, that little walkway in the main grandstands, it can get very, very tight for a Rally Series race and a Truck Series race. Imagine you have a Cup Series race there. That would be brutal. Now, also, one of the reasons it could have been like that was because the concession stands, everything was right there. The merch was all, they're selling merch there, drinks there, food there. That's probably why the grandstands are so packed, because if you want a food, that's where you're going to go. Where if they add grandstands, more grandstands in turn one, maybe it spreads out the people. I'm not sure. But then the last thing, the bathrooms, guys. They got to fix these bathrooms. We got metal troughs to go number one in. I mean, not to me doesn't sound like a very professional way for a bathroom to be at a major sporting event. And then also the stalls to go number two, they're made out of plywood, OSB plywood, and painted white with a little hook. It's got the old school feel, but I feel that we gotta have some new school, especially if you're gonna have a Cup Series race here. This place is not up to par to especially other NASCAR tracks, but definitely not up to any other major sporting events like a football stadium or a baseball stadium. Nowhere near that. But I wouldn't care about any of this if it was going to stay O'Reilly and Truck Series weekend. Got no problem with that. But if you're going to make a Cup Series weekend, you got to improve. They also had some weeds, massive weeds behind the main grandstands there near turn one. I think the place needs some renovations before we get a Cup Series event. That's just my opinion. Overall, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you after Bristol this weekend. Bye.